In this video, I'm going to show you a number of bench press variations. Varying the bench press can be varied by grip width and also grip angle. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to change those around. Any kind of innovation that you use to vary your bench press and kind of change it up on a regular basis will make it so that you don't start to create imbalances, as well as I hate to say weaknesses, because when you create an imbalance, weakness and strength is just relative. A few things that I'm going to use is I'm going to use an American bar by LEDFTS. I'm going to use this straight power bar. I explained in the other videos on squat and deadlift how it's set up with the power ring to mark where you can put your hands on the bench press. A legal grip is the index finger on the power ring, covering the power ring. There is a bench press variation called the illegal wides, where you go a little bit wider than that. It can be good to go lightweight, high reps to build some shoulder stability. Then you have a smooth with your squatter knurling in the middle. So with this power bar, that knurling setup helps you to be symmetrical in your grip, and also to know kind of how to go wide grip or competition grip, fingers on the knurling, pinky fingers on the knurling. Then you can go an inch in and onto the smooth. The smooth is about as close as I ever get for a close grip bench press. So some of the equipment you'll see I use a bench press belt. This really is nothing more than just kind of a cueing tool to remember to take a big deep breath in, brace against it. Bench press is a full body movement, so you want to be able to get a good brace in your core, good tightness in your legs and through your glutes before you take the hand off. The other thing that I use is I've got some really light and short wrist wraps. I use these when I start going a little bit heavier. I don't think that they give me as much support as, again, they cue me to hold that bar correctly, which is the grip on the bar and how you hold it is going to be part of this video as well. These are the bench press variations. So one of the first things I want to show you is how to grip the bar. The grip is a real key point to stacking your wrist over your elbow. This is not only for safety, but it will give you mechanical advantages as your weights get heavier, and you can build more strength that way. The first thing I want to show you again is, like our other videos, we have the power ring here. We have the end of the knurling, so there's some smooth. Then there's the squatting knurling on a power bar, and then more smooth, and then power ring. So it's symmetrical, so you can get a good symmetrical grip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the smooth and the power rings to kind of line up your grip. What's really important is that when you line up your grip, you put your hand in this way so that you can see that my wrist and my arm and everything is lined up together. This is going to be a little bit different grip than if I were to grab it like the handle on a suitcase or something like that. If I hold it like this, and this is going to be the natural grip that most people will take, they'll hold it like this. You can see my wrist. It's kind of hard in the video, but the wrist starts to get bent, either backwards this way or forwards this way, but I don't get the same grip on it as I do when I engage the bar this way. And then what I do is I squeeze hard in my pinky and my ring finger, and I twist with my thumb. Not a big advocate of the thumbless grip, but you can use it. Some people use that because what they can do is they can stack the bar over their wrist, and this will put the weight a little bit more in your triceps. But that gives you an ability to have your wrists a little bit more turned this way. This is the kind of torque you want on the bar, is a torque this way. So as you lower the bar toward your chest, engage the lats and all of that supportive muscular better. So just to review again, what I do is I slip in and I try and get a grip with as little thumb as possible as part of the grip, and then I squeeze with my ring finger and my pinky finger on both sides. And once I get that good and tight, that's when I will do the lift off and start the bench press. This variation is called the board press. The reason why is because old school powerlifting days, they used to get different boards that they glued or screwed together, so they had different widths from regular thickness of a 2x4 onto stacking those 2x4s or 2x6s up to 4 and 5 boards thick. This is what's called a bench block. This operates as a board press for doing it just in the gym. Again, these are not real expensive, but they fit in your gym bag, and you can take these to a commercial gym or put it in your gym bag. And if you go out and train at the academy, you can use one of these to practice your board presses. Each one of these knots fits around the knurling on the bar. Again, it helps to have a power bar with that center squatting knurling. This is your 5 board press. If I turn it this way, it's a 4 board press. If I turn it this way, it's a 3 board press. And then if I turn it this way, it's a 2 board press. This one does not go to a 1 board press, but I do have a bench block that goes 1 board and a half a board. This is a way of doing like we did in the deadlift or even in the squat, where you can use different deficits, different depths of range of motion. Of course, if you're trying to build bigger muscles, and that's the goal, and you're using repetition method, full range of motion will do that best. When you're trying to build strength in the joints through overload, and you're trying to get your neurological system and especially your mentality used to heavier weights, this will help you go with a lot heavier weight and help you to rep, because you're not going through that sticking point on your press. I'm going to start with a 3 board press, which is going to be this, to demonstrate the bench press to a 3 board press. This variation is called the board press. The reason why is because old school powerlifting days, they used to get different boards that they glued or screwed together, so they had different widths from regular thickness of a 2x4 onto stacking those 2x4s or 2x6s up to 4 and 5 boards thick. This is what's called a bench block. This operates as a board press for doing it just in the gym. Again, these are not real expensive, but they fit in your gym bag, and you can take these to a commercial gym or put it in your gym bag. And if you go out and train at the academy, you can use one of these to practice your board presses. Each one of these knots fits around the knurling on the bar. Again, it helps to have a power bar with that center squatting knurling. This is your 5 board press. If I turn it this way, it's a 4 board press. If I turn it this way, it's a 3 board press. And then if I turn it this way, it's a 2 board press. This one does not go to a 1 board press, but I do have a bench block that goes 1 board and a half a board. This is a way of doing like we did in the deadlift or even in the squat, where you can use different deficits, different depths of range of motion. Of course, if you're trying to build bigger muscles, and that's the goal, and you're using repetition method, full range of motion will do that best. When you're trying to build strength in the joints through overload, and you're trying to get your neurological system and, you know, especially your mentality used to heavier weights, this will help you go with a lot heavier weight and help you to rep, because you're not going through that sticking point on your press. I'm going to start with a 3-board press, which is going to be this, to demonstrate the bench press to a 3-board press. In this portion of the video, I'm going to demonstrate a static hold, bench press static hold. What I'm doing is I'm overloading by a significant amount of what I can lift in a full range maximum. I'm doing what I would do with a very, very high board, or sometimes even slightly higher. The point of this lift is to take the bar out of the rack and hold it in the start and the finish position for about 10 seconds to 15 seconds. What this does is this turns on your neurological system. It also is a bone strengthener and a connective tissue strengthener. This is one of those lifts that if you do it in the commercial gym, there'll be the bros that will think that you're ego lifting, and you know, if you post it on your Instagram, whatever, that's the ego lifting. This has nothing to do with the ego. This is all about getting your mind and your body used to just handling heavier amounts of weight. And then at some point, you know, whatever you can do today with a static lift is supposed to be something that you actually have the capability of doing on a full bench press at some point. So I do these because, especially right now, I've had a lot of improvement in my shoulder stability. Since both of my shoulders have been injured, I've been rehabbing them for about 2 years, and I get a lot of shoulder stability from this. But this is also to turn on that neurological system and get my mind thinking, this feels lighter, because once I drop back from this to do more of my assistance work or other versions of pressing movements, they'll feel a ton lighter after I've done this. Again, about 10-15 second holds. You only need to do 1 or 2 of these. Do them about once every other week. Maybe add 5 pounds, add 5 pounds, add 5 pounds, and just see how much longer you can push it up. If you've got a partner to work with, they can actually time you with a stopwatch so that you can have an instrumental time. For me, what I do is I just try and do an honest 10 seconds. So again, on the static hold, some of the things that I do is I used my wrist wraps to stabilize my wrist, make sure I had those in the right position. The other thing I did is I moved these safety bars up so that if I just wanted to let it down, or if you watch the video closely, you can see that on my right side where my shoulder was dislocated, it's a little bit harder for me to rack it and hook it with that amount of weight, because of the compression and everything. So if I just want to put it straight down, I can just put it down, and I'm only going to put it down a couple of inches below the hooks. So that's how I do those. These are really good to do with a spotter, but if you have to do them by yourself, again, you could do them in a power cage. If you want to set up where the bars are up really high and you're just pressing it, you know, an inch or 2 off of the pins and holding. That's the way I used to do it in a commercial gym, is just to find a power rack and a bench, put the bench in there and do it just right off the pins. But again, the purpose of this is to build strength in the bones, in the connective tissues, and also teach the neurological system to fire as many motor units as possible. The thing about our muscles is they're efficient, so they will only use as many motor units as it thinks it needs to use to handle the load that it's using. That way, when we pick up a drink, we're not overflexing and so forth. So what we want to do is we want to deliberately overload. This same static hold can be used on a squat, where you could unrack a squat and hold it for 10 to 15 seconds and then re-rack it with a lot more weight than you can actually do in a full squat, and it will help you the same way. It just gets that whole neurological system firing and shows you about where your maximum strength really is. This bench press variation is going to be using the Elite FTS American bar. The American bar is unique because it has this camber in it, which means that when you get down in the bottom position, it gives you a little bit more stretch. You can also turn that over and use it kind of like a small board press. So that camber is also a tool to use. There's 3 different outside grips, and then there's one that's really, really close together. I'll be honest with you, I don't ever use the one that's really close. Haven't used it yet, just because it's a little tight for me and a little tight for my wrists. But I use the other 3, and the closer your grip again gets, the more triceps you're doing, the less shoulders, and then on out, it puts it more in your shoulders and puts it less in your triceps. I think this is a great bar to use in conjunction with the bench press, simply because it turns your hands this way and not this way. And so it's a little bit easier on your shoulders and it isolates the triceps a little bit better. This is the American bar. This bench press variation is called the reverse grip bench press. First time I ever saw it was world record holder Anthony Clark, first man to bench press 700 pounds. What he would do is he would hold the bar in his hands this way. He used a suicide grip, reverse grip. Never been gutsy enough to do that. There's a couple of different ways that people are doing it online right now. Jimmy Kolb, the world record holder for the bench press, puts the bar between his 2 fingers and across because he can't quite rotate out that way. He's not comfortable that way, so he takes it in what's called a talon grip, and he holds it this way. I can get all the way around it like that, but again, the bar should come across your wrist here so that you've got a support and it's stacked, you know, above your forearm and above your elbow. So this is a reverse grip. Again, if you don't have an American bar, this reverse grip really works well to change the hand position, move the load more into your triceps, and build that tricep lockout power a little bit better and take a little bit of the strain off of your shoulders. This is the reverse grip bench press. So the last, but definitely not the least, bench press variation I'm going to show you this morning is called the J.M. Blakely press. Some people call them J.M. presses, some people call them Blakely presses. You can look those up on YouTube, and there's different bench press experts showing how to do this. I'm going to show you how to do it, and but I always recommend, go on YouTube and look for variations and different innovations to do, because everything you change on these core lifts will actually add to the core lift going up over time. So what the JM Blakely press is it's a hybrid between a close grip bench press off of your chest and a nose breaker. Okay, nose breakers are also called skull crushers. It's where you lay down and you take a close grip and you bring the bar down to your forehead or to your nose, and then you press it back up. What a Blakely press does is it starts close grip here and it comes down and it goes right to about your chin or your throat. So it's not as far up. You'll see some people online kind of rock it back at the bottom. That's all right if you want to do that, but the point of the JM press is to build that tricep right here around your elbow. It builds a lot of elbow strength. I can't tell you how important that is. That is everything for chopping, forcing doors, all of that kind of stuff is right there in that tricep extension, as well as your bench press. So the more stuff you work, like board presses, pressing off the pins high, static holds, JM presses, not only will your bench press go up, which is really pretty cool, but all of those forcing activities you're going to use with firefighting tools will all benefit from that. So I'm going to demonstrate this. My fingers will go right on the edge of the smooth of the knurling close grip. I'm going to keep my elbows at about 45 degrees. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend that elbow down until my bicep binds up there. And then I'm going to return it. I'm going to straighten my wrist on the bottom, and I'm going to bend my wrist a little bit on the top. So I'm kind of doing almost like in martial arts, a heel palm strike. And that's where I start to feel it. Now, one caution, and this is a very, very important thing to do, don't go really heavy with these, especially at first. You'll find when you first incorporate these into your workouts, you'll start getting some elbow tendon pain. That's normal. Don't push it too far. If you start getting a little bit of elbow tendon pain, that inflammation is okay because that's the strengthening process. But if you push that too far, you're risking an injury, even if it's just a chronic, tendonitis. It'll wreck your training, especially if you're in the RCA and you get that. You got work to do all the time, dragging hoses and doing work out on the drill ground. So you're not going to want to have any tendonitis or any kind of chronic problems like that. So this is the JM press. I'll demonstrate it. And again, I would encourage you to go online and look at the way other people are doing this as well. There's variations of this press that you can do it off the pins. There's just quite a few different variations.